What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got Joshua Van Cleef. How are you, Joshua?
I'm good. We got week 3 in the books, ready for week 4.
Yep, ready to move on. Got Brent Walker. How are you, Brent? Let's do the damn thing. All right. Let's do it. Also got Alex Devaney Stone.
I'm back. I'm back from my week sabbatical.
Yep.
I'm feeling good, feeling refreshed. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I went like full bro with this. I've got like I did a shark bite on the side of my hair.
Oh, yeah.
Like really carving some shit in there. Like really doing my thing.
Those of you that aren't watching the YouTube feed and are just listening, Alex looks like he's 19. So it's a good look for you, though.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
He's 19 for what, the 13th, 14th straight year?
Yep. I've been going strong.
Never ages.
Nope.
So this week's episode, we'll do a few start sits, and then we're gonna do a keep trade cut little segment just to kind of get keep some conversation going on a few different players, so we can kind of touch on what you guys might want to do with your players moving forward. With 3 weeks in the book, it's you have at least a pretty good idea of what players are or aren't. But before I ask you guys a question, hop on Twitter, follow us at the 4 Horseman Pod. Send us emails, 4horsemanpod@gmail.com. On there on the regular. I've been retweeting lots of stuff lately, so it's legit. Yes,
I do want, and now we can do it like before we leave or something like that, but I do have a question. Well, I don't know. Can I throw this out real quick?
Go for it.
I've been thinking about it all week. I grabbed Chris Thompson, running back for Washington, last week. I've been having some issues with my running back core. I think we've discussed that. And he put up, in our league, 55 points. Now, this is the third week in a row that he's put up way more than any other Redskins running back. And, I mean, he's 5'8". He's a small guy. Do you think that these last 3 weeks – now, I'm not saying 55 points a week, but do you think that this is a trend that's going to continue? Is he worth having on your team? Is he worth starting on your team if you're only starting maybe 2 or 3? We start 3, but like if you're starting 2 running back, with most people are, is he worth a start?
I think you're getting into a volatile situation. I don't think he's going to be able to replicate what he's been doing these first 3 weeks. Week 1, it was like, okay, this is Chris Thompson. Week 2, it's like, okay, 2 straight weeks, whatever. 3, you're starting to find a trend here going. I don't think it's sustainable, but it's something to keep on your radar. He's worth rostering at this point for sure. I think he's like the probably between the 5th and 10th highest scoring player in most leagues right now, which is crazy because he's just a third down pass catching back.
Yeah.
He barely gets rushes, but 150 receiving yards last week it's pretty impressive, but most of it came on that big, like 80-yarder. So
yeah, and I understand that, but I guess my big question is just that, they have no running game at all, and there's only one spark on that side of that or on that side of the ball, really. Like even their passing game is it's all right. It isn't what I assumed it was going to be. We'll just put it that way. But do you think that his floor is 15 to 20 like points, or I guess it depends on what like a standard scoring league would be, or do you think that it'll travel back down to where he might get you like 5 points?
Now he's doing all of this on limited touches, so keep that in mind. This is not a high volume player, but if he's getting those 8 to 10 touches a game, he is really utilizing those touches well. I probably wouldn't put him as a running back 1 or 2, maybe not even running back 3, but I think he's a good flex option for you if you have a flex position.
It's just after 3 weeks, it's starting to get like a little like, am I dumb for not trying? You know what I mean? Like where, my situation is, do I put in Chris Thompson or do I put in Chris Johnson?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my situation right now is not that great. And so like I'm looking at it like, okay, I can put up Chris Johnson, who is, basically the last 2 weeks put up, less than 10 points, or a guy that's been putting up, 20, 25, and 55 in our league. So like, I guess, I know that there's going to be a lot of people looking at Chris Thompson, especially the waiver wire pickup and stuff like that, because after the first 2 weeks, I don't think a lot of people were picking him up. But after last week, I think people are starting to pay attention. And I'm just wondering, like, I completely agree with you, Brent, but I'm just, I'm between a rock and a hard place. I'll tell you that much right now.
I think in like PPR leagues that he's definitely worth owning. In standard, I don't know. He just catches a lot of balls. He doesn't have a lot of rushing yards.
He's getting the touchdowns though, is the thing. So in standard, you can consider him, I would think. But
I think those are those touchdowns rushing, or they're all receiving, aren't they?
They've been rushing and receiving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't matter. A touchdown's a touchdown.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not as sustainable if he's scoring these passing touchdowns.
That's the biggest thing I would say is I don't think it's sustainable. So it's something I think he's worth rostering and playing on a good matchup, but the Redskins are utilizing him in a very good way where it's being fantasy conducive, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, he only scored in one game, 2 touchdowns. So
guys, I'm just really depressed that I have to decide between Chris Thompson and Chris Johnson. Like that's basically I'm having a therapy session. I'm having a therapy session right now.
That's what we're here for.
I'm just so upset. Like I started out the season, I was so excited. Like Dalvin Cook, like that was my number 3 guy. He's basically my number 1 now. Dalvin Cook is my number 1, and
that's fine.
Gosh,
Dalvin Cook's great.
He's fantastic, but not the fact that I had David Johnson. Week in and week out, I don't know what to do about the Tennessee situation. It's a mess. My team's a mess right now.
You probably need to keep Chris Thompson, but honestly, like my advice for other players would be to trade him. I had a buddy that he asked me a question if he should trade Chris Thompson and Marquise Lee for Golden Tate, and I said 100% yes,
100%,
like
100%.
Instant accept.
Get rid of your bench players for a starter.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
I don't even think that's a legit question, honestly. Like I think, like yes.
It's a pretty deep league where you start 2 running backs and you have 2 flexes as well. So and only 3 bench spots. So, but I would.
So you're getting rid of 2 players. So. Well, I mean, you've got I just lost his name. Your boyfriend coming back, right? Soon. Who's your guy from the Jaguars? The guy that you're obsessed with?
D.D. Westbrook.
D.D. Westbrook. He's going to be coming back in 3 weeks?
Not soon enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that once he comes back, I don't know. Marquise Lee seems like one of those guys. He's kind of like the Lamar Miller of the Jaguars receiving corps.
Sure.
It's like, this is the year. He's got all these measurables. He's so good. I don't know.
D.D. Westbrook is about to blow it up.
Oh
God, I'm so good.
Yeah, he's about to blow up his knee because you keep saying it.
No, not going to happen. All right, well, let's thank you, Alex, for that. I was going to ask about how you guys kind of felt about the start of this season so far, but we can save that for next week. Get a third of the way through the game. Let's see, 4. Yeah, a fourth of the way. So we'll save it for next week. I'll ask you guys.
Next week.
Let's talk some start sits. Just want to go through them real quick. Don't really want to talk about too much. Just kind of give me your opinion and we'll move on. First one was Joe Mixon, CJ Anderson, Amir Abdullah.
Anything except for Abdullah. I hate Abdullah.
Why do you hate Abdullah?
Because I hate everything about that Detroit running game. They were on the 1 yard line, and they passed it.
Sure.
Like they don't like their running backs, so I don't want anything to do with their running backs. I think, okay, sorry, what was the second one again?
CJ Anderson.
I think you have to go CJ Anderson right now because, he's the clear-cut starter. Mixon is working in more. Last week, I did love how they were using him. They were using him a lot more.
In Mixon, the Bengals get Cleveland this week with Vontaze Burfict coming back to where they could, you could see him get more touches. It could be a positive game script for them. What do you think, Brent?
Well, Okay, here's the thing. Like, they utilized Mixon so well last week against the Packers. They used him a lot in the passing game and in the rush game. Jeremy Hill seemed like an afterthought, even though he started the game again, quote unquote. He only ended up with like 6 or 7 touches. Mixon ended up with like 20. Mixon is the feature back there now. Like, they're going to work in the other guys temporarily, but Mixon is getting the work now. Start him. I feel like out of those 3 guys, Mixon plays Cleveland.
Yeah.
Anderson plays Oakland. And Abdullah plays Minnesota. So the other 2 have – I mean, CJ Anderson, I could understand starting over Oakland, but I think Joe Mixon has the highest ceiling out of those 2.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And I think you're starting to see that in projections as well. Like, a lot of different leagues have really raised the bar on Joe Mixon now, and I'm loving that start this week against Cleveland.
Yep, this is going to be the time for him to do it. Next one, Alex kind of gave me a lot of feedback before the show on Garcon or T.Y. Hilton.
Feedback.
Yeah, we'll call it feedback. VC, you're a Hilton owner. You started him last week in, I know, at least one league. Is there any chance you would ever start Garcon over Hilton?
Well,
say how you feel, VC. Just say it.
So
let it out.
You love Hilton's upside, but with the matchup, so Brissett gives Hilton
Brisket
gives Hilton that the edge that Tolzien never had or could give Hilton. Now, is Brissett the same as Luck? Absolutely not. So if I think you have a good matchup, there could be a chance that you have you can see Pierre Garcon starting over T.Y. Hilton just because of during matchups, especially Hilton going against Seattle this week. That's going to be a tough matchup for him. And then San Francisco plays. I forget
Arizona.
Thank you. So that's gonna be a tough one too, because you have Peterson who has been shutting down top wide receivers. I would probably start Hilton with the matchup this week. I would start Hilton over Garcon because I know T.Y. Hilton's ability as a pass catcher and to get down the field. I would trust Hilton more, but you got to look at the matchups because actually the week prior, I had benched Hilton. It was a tough decision, but I benched him over Chris Hogan, and it worked out for me. Now, I'm glad I didn't bench him this week. I just had a feeling that he was going to go off, and he did. But you didn't like his chances without Luck because that offense is horrific without Luck. Now, Brissett does – we saw what he does against Cleveland. Now, it is Cleveland. The hope that he gives them because he is a mobile quarterback. He can run with his legs, so defenses have to keep honored. So I really think for at least this week, you guys stick with Hilton.
Sure. I think that Garcon and Hilton have the same floor, but Hilton's upside is so much more than Garcon's. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Start Hilton.
So what if – I'm just – hypothetical. Let's say Hilton is facing one of the toughest defenses in the league, like this week. He's playing Seattle. Let's say he plays Denver, something like that. Top 5 passing defense. Let's say Garcon has a fantastic matchup, like a top 5 worst, passing defense. Is there any scenario where you would start Garcon over Hilton?
Yes.
Here's my issue with that. When you have a great player like Hilton, you don't bench him.
Right.
I mean, the fact is that, okay, he could be up against the hardest, defensive backs in the league. And the fact is that great players are great because they can overcome that.
Right.
So when I'm looking at it, it doesn't matter who T.Y. is going up against. I'm looking at it's T.Y., it's Pierre Garcon. Yep. I mean, you're going to have the PPR things with Garcon, but there's no way that I'm benching him instead of Garcon.
No.
But here's the thing, Alex. So when you're looking at he also has to be dependent on his quarterback. If his quarterback can't get the ball out in time, can't get an accurate throw to him, getting sacked.
So,
Luck couldn't. I mean, Luck was getting sacked constantly, and I think that with Brissett, you at least have a mobile quarterback. that can avoid that situation. They don't have a good line. I mean, they're working on it, but they still don't have a great line. It's better, but they still don't have a great line.
And so, honestly, Brissett is way better than Tolzien, and that's really all you need.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Just the improvement.
That was last week.
That was a great trade in hindsight. Like, Dorsett getting Brissett, I think it has a chance to save the Colts like fantasy players moving forward because they were worthless. Even T.Y. Hilton, you didn't feel good about it. You can at least feel good about it. Don't bench Hilton. You just have to not let it tilt you if somebody on your bench goes off and you have Hilton in there that puts up 6 points.
The one thing, the three of you being Colts fans, you have to love Brissett looking fantastic because if he continues to play that way, okay, there's no such thing as a quarterback controversy when Andrew Luck is your quarterback. So right off the bat, we're getting rid of that. But if you could get, let's say, a second-round pick for a quarterback that somebody sees, you know what, that's my franchise quarterback. That's the guy that I want running my team. Maybe even a first-round pick, depending on how well he plays. You turned it around. You got rid of a bad player. You got rid of a bad player in Dorsett. Got a decent quarterback, and maybe you can switch it around and end up getting a first-round back. I mean, that's a high end. That's high end. Point, I know.
We're getting a little off topic, but Brissett, why not just keep him? Like Andrew Luck has proven that he's gotten hurt in a couple of years. Bad offensive line.
That's not the Colts. That's not the Colts MO.
They could use a good backup quarterback.
They could. They could.
Moving
that's not
forward,
their MO.
Let's move on.
Moving forward, the Colts should just keep Brissett. Next one, Adam Thielen or Larry Fitzgerald.
You got to love what you saw last week. Larry Fitzgerald.
From both or from just Fitzgerald?
Well, Thielen's been proving himself all year long. The problem I see with the upcoming matchup, though, against Detroit is Minnesota has a lockdown cornerback. He will shadow coverage Diggs all game long, which leaves Thielen open for a lot of passes, I'm hoping. So I really like the matchup for Thielen. I think he's good for DFS. I think he's good to start in your like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 spot as well in your lineup. Fitzgerald, though, he looked so good last week. So good on Monday Night Football.
He did.
Dallas isn't the greatest defense in the world, but you got to love the targets that he's getting.
I loved it.
It's almost like Arizona snapped their fingers and switched gears, too. They're no longer a running team. They're a passing team.
Yeah. And, the thing about it, though, is that Fitzgerald is the focal point, whereas Thielen is always going to be second to Diggs. And they're going to try to get the ball to Diggs more often. And I agree with you, Brent. I think he's going to get open a little bit more. But there legitimately is more. I mean, they've got they've got tight ends that they could throw to. They've got players that they can go to. Whereas right now, Arizona has Larry Fitzgergerald.
Yeah,
that's it.
And it looks like J.J. Nelson got a little bit injured, and it sounds like John Brown.
John Brown's
could be back this week.
He could be
back this week.
He's back.
Bigger. He's a big boomer bust guy though too. So I mean, if you're looking for a PPR guy that's going to get a lot of volume, it's going to be Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald is great. You know what I mean? Like he's awesome. He's a good player. He's been around for a long time. He has aged well. He's taken hits well. I saw something where he talked about how he pays players fines if they hit him high because he doesn't want his knees to be taken out. I read something like that. He's been prolonging his career by paying defensive players fines because he'll tell them to hit him high.
But bottom line is, though, I like Fitzgerald's matchup way better than Thielen's just because the Lions defense is sneaky and they actually are decent. They're young and they're good. So
let me throw one other one at you because I actually benched Terrell Pryor to start Thielen in the league.
Okay, I would do the same.
I
feel good about that.
You got to see it from Pryor. I know he's not on our list, but he's one guy that we'll talk about more later. But I think that fits over. Next one. This is for a flex spot here. Who do you start out of this group? Well, Devontae Adams is already playing, so that's kind of terrible. But let's just say Mark Ingram or Chris Hogan in the PPR league.
Chris Hogan.
Like easily?
Chris Hogan.
Easily. Yeah. That passing, like the Patriots are just passing right now. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And then with the New Orleans, you're going to see more passing if they're down.
But they're playing Miami.
I still would go with Chris Hogan.
They're not going to be down.
You think Miami's not that good?
Miami's terrible.
Defensively? I mean,
all around, I just don't think they're very good.
But the thing is, what's worse, the Miami defense or how terrible Mark Ingram is?
I mean, Mark Ingram's not terrible. Adrian
terrible.
Peterson missed practice yesterday with an injury. If he gets used, he's not terrible, Alex. I know you say that, but they utilize him in the passing game.
He's the Isaiah Crowell of the Saints. He's not that good.
God, you're dumb.
No,
he is not the Isaiah Crowell of the Saints.
Earlier, just a couple months ago, you were talking about how Isaiah Crowell is this super talented, like near super freak.
Here we go again.
A human being.
Taking my words and twisting them. I said that he was going to be a great value in the 5th round, and now Isaiah Crowell moved up in our drafts, and everybody's drafts and was being taken in the 3rd round. Now he's considered a bust because he's an overvalue. If anything, he should have just been a 5th round pick that didn't work out. But instead, people wanted to put all their hope in him and pray that it worked out. And guess what? It didn't. Cleveland didn't do what they said they were going to do with Duke Johnson. They said they were going to move him to the slot, but he has not moved to the slot. So it didn't work out.
You also said he was going to be a top 15 back, which would put him in the 3rd round.
Well, no,
so
I said that he was going to be a good value. Just saying
that you should start Hogan over Ingram. I think the Saints do utilize Ingram a lot, especially in the passing game. You do see that, but I still like Chris Hogan's chances better because of how much New England, and Tom Brady. So
sure. All right, next one. Would you start Amari Cooper or Sammy Watkins?
That's tough.
Watkins.
This week, Watkins. Cooper goes up against Denver's defense, and nobody is looking good against Denver right now.
I know, but
Akeem Talib is just like.
I actually benched Cooper in a league. I saw someone drop Cooper in a league.
If somebody drops it, then that person's an idiot.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
out of fantasy football.
People are panicking on just Cooper alone, and you shouldn't be because I'm picking him up if they're dropping him. But
of course. I
don't know if he's hurt. Something's going on with Cooper right now. Like,
he's on the injury report this week, so
exactly. And I don't know. He had, I think, 5 drops all last year, and he's already had 6 through 3 weeks.
Jesus Christ!
I feel like there's something going on with this guy, whether it's injury or something. But if you're telling me Cooper or Watkins this week, I'm gonna stay on fire with Watkins because, I mean, I know he had a concussion last week too, but he had 2 touchdowns, great volume, great playmaking ability, but I got to bench Cooper right now if I have no other option.
Watkins is out of concussion protocol. He already participated in practice today, so I feel good about that. Yeah, so I would go with Watkins. I like his matchup better. I heard something on today that somebody compared Amari Cooper to Brandon Cooks as far as like being the same type of player.
Oh, Alex, you will hate that, won't you?
Who was it?
Who made that comparison?
No, who would they compare him to?
Brandon Cooks.
Huh.
Who's Brandon Cooks?
That's weird.
Mark Cooper. Well, because saying how high games.
Well,
and he has low games.
I guess that's not a crazy.
I mean, they're completely different players. Maybe as far as like fantasy output goes, but
okay. I mean, I don't think we're. I think we're. I mean, isn't that the only thing that matters? Like, I mean, fantasy output's the only thing that actually matters. So, I mean, as far as what we're talking about,
I mean, not necessarily true. You're talking about like as far as potential goes. You don't think that Amari Cooper is like a Betterly.
Better
like set up to be successful in the NFL. And I like Brandon Cooks. Don't get me wrong. I think that he's super fast. He runs good routes, has good hands. I've already said all three of those things. I just think Amari Cooper is more of what you think of when you think of wide receiver one. He's big bodied,
but he hasn't. I feel like he has been a slightly better version of Brandon Cooks, but still the type of player to like Brandon Cooks is. So I'm kind of waiting. I'm waiting for that, like 100 catch, 1,500 yards, and 13 touchdown season. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
It's only his third year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know.
He's doing better. He's doing better than Kevin White.
Sure. Not saying much. All right. Well, that's all I have for start sets. So that was mildly successful. We talked a little bit more than I wanted to, but the next segment we're going to move on to is a keep trade cut, which is always a fun one, and we have several of these to go through. So we'll try to keep it mildly quick moving. But first one, so keep trade cut. Brent, start me off. Derrick Henry, Doug Martin, Chris Carson.
Ooh, I think the only person you could gain trade value on right now is probably Derrick Henry. You might be able to do Doug Martin just based on the allure alone. Like, he's coming off a suspension. You don't know what to expect, but you can only think upside with Doug Martin right now. But if I had to keep someone, it would probably well, I don't know. Now I'm second guessing the question. Myself, but, all right, let's answer. I'm going to trade Derrick Henry and hopefully get something of upside. Keep Doug Martin, cut Chris Carson.
I agree. Either of you two disagree with that?
No.
Actually, I would admit I would flip it, because I think that I would rather keep Henry, because I feel like he might end up finishing the season as a starter. I don't really know what you're getting with Martin, but I think that you could probably trade him to your least experienced player. Doug Martin's coming back. Oh, he's a number one. Great. Henry's a number two. So why would I want him? That's kind of the mindset, and you're kind of trying to get, especially for instance, from a guy like me who's had injuries to his running backs and stuff like that. And I know that I would rather have Henry, but do I have time to wait on Henry? Probably not. So sure. I'm going to go after somebody that's going to, that needs a starting running back right away. And I already don't feel great about him. So I'm okay getting rid of him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And to your point, Alex, a little bit, with Doug Martin, you need to realize something. A lot of players drafted him. A lot of players have him on your bench right now. So I need you to know this, that he will probably not finish the season as a top 12 running back because of his suspension. But on a weekly basis, he might give you top 12 production.
It's possible.
On a weekly. When the season's said and done, he's not going to finish as a top 12. But realize that in the games each week, he could give you those top 12 performances.
And that's totally possible. But also remember, he's a very back and forth type guy. He'll have a great season, and then he'll have a terrible season. Then he'll have a good half of a season and a bad half. So I mean, he's a very
he's on the good half
runner.
He's on the good season this year. Last year was bad.
Okay.
All right. Next one, Van Cleve. You got Marshawn Lynch, Robert Kelly, and Javaris Allen.
Ugh.
Keep one, trade one, cut one.
Yeah, we gave you the bad one, Van Cleve.
Okay, Marshawn Lynch, Rob Kelly, Javaris Allen. Good grief. I guess I think I could get the most trade value out of, Marshawn Lynch. Trade Marshawn Lynch, cut Rob Kelly, and keep Javaris Allen. Because they're using Javaris Allen heavily in the Baltimore offense.
Baltimore's offensive line is so trash now. With Yonda gone, they looked hot garbage fire.
Oh, it was the worst.
That game was hard to watch.
They're using him in the passing game, though, more than anything.
Yeah, but
Baltimore's a real, like, nothing face team. Like, there's just nothing about them that's even mildly attractive.
Yeah, not even their defense now, which you thought you were maybe going to be able to use. Got just annihilated by the London Jaguars.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Either you guys differ with that?
I mean, the only thing I would change up is Rob Kelly looks like the best running back in Washington on the running side. Like the passing side, obviously Chris Thompson, which was what we talked about already. But if anything, he's coming off of an injury, so I think he's going to play this week. And I would probably keep Rob Kelly and I'd cut Buck Allen.
Sure. I'm fine with that. I mean, those are all kind of trash. So, all right, Brent, let's give you a better one. How about Melvin Gordon, Ezekiel Elliott?
Skipping over me.
I don't care about you.
I didn't want it. I didn't want it anyway.
Melvin Gordon, Ezekiel Elliott, and Leonard Fournette.
Honestly, I want to hear Alex's take on this first, so I'll throw it over to Alex.
Okay.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, well, this is a tough one. I think that of all of them, I would have to cut Fournette just because I'm not. Jaguars are kind of scaring me. Like, they just keep getting hurt, and are we really supposed to believe that Mercedes Lewis is now going to be good? Like, I don't know. You know, they'll play a team really hard, and then they'll just completely lie down. So if I gotta cut one of these guys, I've got to go Fournette. I would trade Elliott just because. Well, granted, I hate Elliott, but also he's going to get me the most trade value. I think that Gordon doesn't have quite the ceiling that Elliott has, but honestly, I think that we've seen that Elliott has a floor that could bottom out. I mean, I don't think that he's ever going to have a game like that ever again, maybe in his entire career.
Well, that's the thing, though. That would be an outlier then. Like,
it might be, but I think – but here's the thing, though, is that if a defense watches enough tape on that game, I think there was something. There's something like – I don't know. There was something about that they were able to figure out, and I think that it's not going to be that bad. You know, it's not going to be, single-digit yards, but, I think that it's possible to stop him, and they do have other facets. They've got Witten. They've got, other mouths to feed. So, and Gordon is like, I would say 85% of the capabilities of Zeke. So if I can get more on the trade value of Elliott, then I can still keep that guy that is, has a really high ceiling, is basically the offense is going through him. And if I can get more from that trade and then keep the other guy, then I think that's pretty good.
Sure.
I don't know. I think we would have to disagree. And
no.
Flip-flop Elliott and Gordon, because what are you going to get from Elliott? Like, what could you get more? Like, who's going to give up that much for Elliott?
Somebody will.
I just saw we were talking about a first-round pick and David Johnson, who's going to be coming. Like not to completely get sidetracked, but I mean, David Johnson's going to be back and finish out the season, and he just hurt his wrist. It's just a freaking wrist. Like, it's not an ACL. I don't care if he broke his arm in half. I mean, those kinds of things are okay. Those are the injuries that if they take him out for extended periods of time, that's okay.
But he got injured at the end of last year, injured at the beginning of this year. Like, you got to pump the brakes a little bit.
He was injured in college too.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott can't stop having the police come out to his house. So, I would rather take the guy that's having these little, piddly injuries. I mean, nothing like major. I mean, I don't know about the college stuff, so I don't know if he had like any ACL stuff or anything like that. But I think that the Zeke situation is much more worrisome than the David Johnson situation. Because Zeke isn't learning his lesson. Like, I mean, he keeps doing stupid stuff. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
And there's still a chance that you might not have Zeke for part of the season. Or there's a possibility that you might not have him next season if you're trading in keeper leagues or dynasty leagues. But so I think Elliott would be the proper trade right now, in my opinion. I kind of agree with you, Alex. Like, Gordon is the one to keep in my mind. He's just so much more involved with both rushing and passing. He gets equal volume every week in both facets.
Yep, I agree with that. So, all right. Well, Brent, can I ask you one now, or are you going to shove this one off to somebody else?
Yeah, we'll see. Might throw that back to you.
All right. So, Alshon Jeffrey, Demaryius Thomas, and Amari Cooper.
Okay, let's deal with this right now. So, Alshon Jeffrey, he's looked promising in the Eagles offense. I kind of like it. Demaryius has a pretty high ceiling and a low ceiling, high floor. Seems like he's getting the yardage and the catches, the targets, but no touchdowns. So that's kind of worrisome. Amari Cooper, oh man, rough start to the season other than week 1, which was just mediocre, but he got a touchdown. If I have to do this, I would probably try and trade. I would try and trade Amari Cooper if I could, because I think he has also the highest ceiling out of these 3. If you can get something for him, trade him. If I had to keep one, I would say Demaryius, because he's just the most steady out of them. And I'd probably end up having to cut Jeffrey, unfortunately. Like, they're so close. All 3 of these guys are so close, though.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Either you guys disagree with anything that he said?
I guess I would like the upside of Jeffrey with Wentz, because I think Wentz has a higher ceiling than Simeon does. But then I just saw Simeon throw 4 touchdowns. So who knows?
Right. I don't know. I almost think that's what you have to do with those guys, at least.
I will say that just even us talking about this, I'm kind of starting to get this feeling that Cooper's going to have just some monster game, just like 8 catches, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, just some. But I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I feel like that game is on the horizon. But I agree. Cooper's been he's been a little bit of a weird player. Like, if you really look at his stats and stuff like that, like, he's been a little bit of a weird player. And I think you're right. He has the best trade value. And you have to look at it. It's like, are you comfortable with having a guy like if you have – I'm assuming you have these 3 guys, right, on your team, and you have to make a decision. So I would feel just fine having Jeffrey and getting rid and trading away Amari Cooper. I would have no problem with that.
Yeah. I'm fine with it as well. All right. VC. Let's see if you can give us a little opinion on this one. How about Sammy Watkins, Stephon Diggs, and Michael Crabtree?
Crabtree. That one's a good one. See, I think Diggs has the highest trade value right now with his upside. But also, do I want to trade him away, though? Because I think I can still get Sammy Watkins in a trade. Out of all the guys...
Are you talking about Diggs?
Diggs has the highest ceiling out of all these guys.
You've got such a man crush on Diggs. You're never going to trade Diggs. There's no way that Joshua Van Cleve trades Stephon Diggs. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, for the value you got him this year was just the amount of production.
I could hear it in your voice. You're trying to talk yourself into it, and you can't even do it in a hypothetical.
Oh, God. All right, you know what? Fine. I'm going to trade Stephon Diggs, keep Sammy Watkins, and cut Crabtree.
I flip Watkins and Diggs.
See, I'm a different way though. I feel like I cut Watkins.
Really?
Ooh,
Yeah.
No. Oh,
You think because of Crabtree get the touchdown?
I think his floor is the lowest though. I think actually Crabtree has probably the highest floor, and I think Diggs has the highest ceiling. So I would probably cut Watkins.
I don't know. The last couple weeks, what I've been seeing like just in targets and things like that, and we've seen Goff take a huge jump. I mean, an enormous jump.
Absolutely.
So I think that I don't think that 1,300 yards for Watkins this season is a crazy thing.
No,
I really don't. I think that he's going to be, maybe he could be in the conversation of top 5 wide receiver.
It depends on their schedule, though, too. And they play in a tough division with Seattle and Arizona, who have really great cornerbacks. So that's what would worry me. But it just depends on the rest of their schedule, too.
See, that's kind of why I trade him. Like, he's going to have tough matchups coming up. So sell high on him while he did. And maybe it won't work out. Maybe he will be amazing. But I think that this is probably about as high as his value is going to get right now. I think it can kind of only go downhill from here.
See, I think if he has one more great week, you sell high on him.
Yeah, but when will that be?
Because
you just don't know.
I'm saying, especially if he has one this week, he has a great matchup.
What if he gets injured?
Sell high on him now.
Again.
That's true. You have injury concerns too.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying if he has a great game, sell high on him, because people are still going to wonder, like, okay, Jared Goff good and the same Watkins, because like the first couple of weeks they were like, well, kind of, he wasn't really involved in the game until last week, right? Last week was his Watkins.
That was kind of.
I mean, it's his biggest game, but he's looked good and involved all season.
I get that, but as far as fantasy goes, people haven't really been paying attention to Watkins as like, where Diggs is blowing up the first week and then he's blowing up again. Like, I think if you have another game from Watkins, at least similar or even, that doesn't have to be like as high, but I think if he has over 100 yards and a touchdown, I think you sell high on him. That's just my opinion, though, because I mean, you have that risk that with Sam Watkins, you have the injury risk still. Yeah, he's on a new team, but he still has the injury risk, and he is in a hard division, and they do have a tough schedule coming up after Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's fine. Hey, Alex, I actually am going to include you in this one. So,
delightful!
I got some tight ends for you. Your favorite position. So
I'm sorry. Mike Glennon is the only QB in the league that pays for sex. I just. Oh my god!
Are you on Facebook?
Where are you? No, I'm on
Twitter.
I'm on our thread.
I turn my text messages off for podcasts because I'm a professional.
Well, you know what? I'm staying in. I'm staying in the know. Okay. So,
all right. Well,
what are you talking about? You text all the time during a podcast.
Just to you guys about the podcast, not like to other people.
Still a text.
Okay, you're ridiculous. So keep trade cut.
But that's not the point.
Jordan Reed, Jimmy Graham, Zach Ertz.
Jordan Reed, Jimmy Graham, Zach Ertz. Okay, so oh gosh. Zach Ertz has been extremely consistent, but I don't think that you get a lot of trade value for him.
Right.
So I think that I'm going to keep Zach Ertz.
Mm-hmm.
Homer.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. Trade Jordan Reed just because he's got the name recognition and somebody's going to jump at it, and then cut Jimmy Graham. I think like Jimmy Graham, I don't think any of these guys are bad, but we got to make a decision on something. And I think Zach Ertz is still, the security blanket for Wentz when he gets in trouble. Wentz is mobile enough that he can kind of, run around. The Eagles have not figured out that Corey Clement is the future. So we don't have a really good pass catching back. So, you still have Ertz as the blanket there. I think he has the highest floor. Like, I think that he's going to get a certain amount of points. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he has the highest ceiling out of these three players. I think that he might have the lowest ceiling, honestly. But I still think that he's consistent. And with tight ends, I think consistency is really important because if you don't have Gronk, the other guy is Jordan Reed, and you're constantly scared that he's going to get hurt or get a concussion or something like that. I'd rather push that off onto somebody else, keep a guy that has a lower ceiling but is consistent, and I don't have to worry about the tight end position.
Sure.
Tight ends this year have just been so inconsistent, other than Gronk, really. But even he had a bad week 1 too. So I don't know. It's just been a volatile position this year that you can't really rely on, other than Gronk.
I mean, isn't it kind of always though?
Well, yeah. There's weeks that you can rely on tight ends in a consistent form, but this year's just been. I feel like this year's been different a little bit. Like the very top end, Gronk is an outlier. He's his own beast, and then everyone else has just been. I mean, you could put Eric Ebron even in like a top 8 scenario, and he could probably finish there, and he's been terrible. So like he's been awful, and he could still finish as a top 8. It's like this year's just been awful for tight ends, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. So
because you have like Mr. Consistent is hurt in Greg Olsen. Like I mean that was the one thing. Like you said, other than Gronk, like probably the most consistent tight end that isn't Gronk is Greg Olsen, and you're going to be missing him for half the season.
Or even Kelsey. I mean, he's so involved in the offense, but he just had a 1 catch for 1 yard game against the Chargers.
Yeah.
Like what do you need to get a consistent tight end in this league? Apparently, just Gronk. Just Gronk.
Yeah, and you just hope that Gronk doesn't get injured. So
yeah.
But all right, well, next one, Brent. How about Tevin Coleman, Derrick Henry, and Amir Abdullah?
Tevin Coleman, Derrick Henry, Amir Abdullah. I will be trading. I would trade Tevin Coleman, cut Amir Abdullah, keep Derrick Henry.
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind. Amir Abdullah is garbage.
I would trade. I think I would agree with that. I think Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman's is just starting to pull away with that backfield. I think Derrick Henry had probably his most value going forward, and Amir Abdullah is getting the usage, but is not being effective with it.
Yeah, DeMarco Murray just looks old, so I feel like Derrick Henry's getting more and more involved each week. And if DeMarco Murray sits, Derrick Henry is a top 5 running back. It feels.
And the thing is that I feel like it's actually kind of frustrating because I'm a big DeMarco Murray fan. But honestly, there's part of me that just is like, oh, can you just get like a hamstring injury or something like that so I can just roll with Henry? Like, because I feel like all I'm doing is hoping that he rips off a 75-yard run. Otherwise, it's going to be a worthless. But I don't want to start Henry because DeMarco Murray, even though he is starting to show that age, he could still rip off a 75-yard touchdown run. So, I mean, that's one of the, if you have, the starter and the handcuff, that's one of the most frustrating ones in the league right now because if Murray goes down, you have a possible, maybe the David Johnson of this year kind of player, like just a big back that is could do anything. It's frustrating.
I even brought it up to you, Romine, a couple weeks ago in week 3, right before the week 3 game started. I asked you, I'm like, should I drop Derrick Henry and pick up like a Tevin Coleman or a Chris Carson? And that was when Derrick Henry, he wasn't doing anything, and neither was DeMarco Murray. And I ended up not doing it. And that was the week that Derrick Henry scored 2 touchdowns and had 14 rushes for 92 yards. And he looked like the greatest thing on earth. Like he looked like the elite running back that we all thought he could be if DeMarco didn't play.
So what did I say?
You told me to drop him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You told me to just get rid of him. So I ignored your advice. Something I don't usually do.
Good thinking.
Probably not a bad idea.
It was a keeper league, so that was the only deciding factor for me. I decided to keep Derrick Henry because I knew that he could be an elite option.
Right.
But it was so close. I almost did it.
I remember us talking about that. So, all right, good one. Well, let's go ahead and close out this last one I got, and BC is for you. And I think it's a pretty good one.
Okay.
You got Martavis Bryant,
Okay.
Terrell Pryor, Devontae Parker.
Okay.
This is a good one.
This is a tough one because out of all those players, Devontae Parker probably has the best trade value. Although Terrell Pryor might be able to because he's on the Redskins. If I could, I'd trade Terrell Pryor, cut Martavis Bryant, and keep Devontae Parker.
Can I weigh in real quick?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to cut Martavius Bryant and Terrell Pryor, clone Devontae Parker 2 more times, 3 Devontae Parkers, and I keep them all. I love them.
You do.
I want them to have my children.
You love Devontae Parker so much.
So much. I love him so much.
I think he's got a good connection with Jay Cutler's, and I think that
especially in garbage time.
Yes.
Which is all he gets. So,
hey, garbage time is a great time in fantasy. Yeah. I'm just not sure. Like Martavis Bryant is just too volatile for me. Terrell Pryor, you're still not sure with that offense. And I think that's what I would do.
What? Sorry. So did you say that you would cut Pryor, or did you trade Pryor?
Trade Pryor. Cut Martavis Bryant.
See, I think I would.
Trading him way too low. Like you probably invested a third or a 4th round draft pick in Terrell Pryor. Like he was going that high. But it's so hard to just drop a guy that you drafted in the 3rd or 4th round.
I get that, but and Devontae Parker you probably got late, so you have a great value with that. But do you feel comfortable with Pryor over Parker on your team?
No.
No way.
Right? See, that's the thing. Is it's like I think Parker has a better trade value, but yet.
But you're not getting the same production from Pryor as you are Parker right now.
See, but I think that when you really look at it, and I understand what you're saying, I didn't like where Pryor was going personally. I thought it was way too high. You're talking about a player on a new team, things like that. And I think that I would just drop Pryor because Bryant has that home run capability, which I'm not saying that Pryor doesn't, but we've seen Bryant, put up huge, huge numbers. And I think that he has enough name recognition that, it's possible to, to do that. Sorry, I just totally – my child is sitting right there, and I don't know how it showed up out of nowhere. She was asleep, and it was like something out of The Ring where I had this little tiny child just sitting in a –
Next thing you know, she's going to be riding a tricycle around.
It's not going to be good. Asking me if I want to play a game. It's going to be horrible.
Terrifying.
Oh,
Daddy,
my gosh.
you want to play a game?
Kids love doing that. They love just freaking you out, huh? She thinks it's funny.
That's the best way to end the show, then, I guess. So, yeah. Thanks everybody for stopping out and listening. Alex, good luck with tucking your daughter back in.
Yeah.
And Chris Thompson.
Yeah.
Good luck with Chris Thompson, baby. We'll see how that works out.
Oh God, I'm so scared. I don't want to be 1-3.
Once again, hop on Twitter, follow us, 4 Horsemen Pod. Send us emails, 4horsemenpod@gmail.com, and we will see you guys again next week. Peace.
Oh, that's me.